Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another deck profile, our final deck profile from GenCon with another successful Crossworld player. We are here with Jordan Markle. What's going on, Big J?
Not much, man. Just here to do deck profile. Appreciate you having me on.
Excellent. All right, so we're playing U7 here. This is your first place list from teams, and I believe on the other day you guys got third, right?
Yeah, we got third on the first Team Wars day, and then the second Team Wars day we ended up getting first.
So first and third placing deck, and Big J kind of took one for the team because Jordan is not typically a red player. If I recall correctly, going back a couple sets, you said you like hated red, right? But you took the bullet, played U7, and I know that you think the deck is like absolutely cracked. Maybe where other people think it's like a little mediocre. Is that right?
Yeah, I think the deck's really strong. It definitely would be in my top 3 decks for the format if I had to pick. But yeah, generally I'm not a red player, but like I've been actually playing this a good bit, and it's been performing very well. So I think it's one of the stronger decks in the format.
Excellent. So the fact that, national winner, national top 4 player thinks that this deck is still solid, I think where other people are kind of discrediting it, I think is a really good thing. But anyways, why don't we get right into the deck?
Yeah, sure. I mean, everybody knows the leader, draw, mill, back. You get your free 1 pickup, which is super nice for the leader. I really like that. A lot of times I'll pick up a super combo or my SCR. Generally don't pick up too much other than that, but solid leader. We'll get into the deck. Right here I got 3 Divine Presence. Solid number. It's not that great against yellow because they can rest it, do some like battle like tricks and stuff. But against every other color, it's pretty decent. Blue, it's very strong. Just a solid card.
Yeah, this card became way more important in the deck than it previously was, especially against blue, because it just gets around Boo Unison so well.
Yep, exactly. Then we got 3 Vegeta. Not super high on this card, but I was playing 2 for a while, but I went back up to 3 because it's decent in like the Trunks Vegeta matchup. It's decent in certain situations. Just clearing 2 things is just good. But the 2 cost is a little expensive, but just a solid card. U7 count, keep it up.
Yeah, I don't know why for me, but this card just felt like in the situations where it's good, it's like broken, but otherwise it's like pretty mediocre.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely felt better recently for me, but yeah, it's still like it's just in a weird spot, I feel like. Or Frieza, one of your staple, costs one drop when you just meet the requirements. Dual attack 19k, kill something. Not really much to say about this guy. One of the best cards in the deck. Definitely got to run 4. Another one of the better cards in the deck for this Goku. In yellow, it's not versus yellow. It's not as good because they have a lot of barrier threats usually when you're playing against yellow nowadays. But every other matchup, it's really strong, and sometimes you'll be able to kill like littler things with this, or combo it with the Golden Frieza to kill like a bigger thing and draw a card. And we got Android 17. Another broken 1 drop. Like the value 1 drops get in this deck is so crazy. Like that's why I really like this deck. I mean 15k double strike, search top 3 for any U7, can find your SCR, can find super combos, can find anything you need to like fix your curve as well. You could also find a Golden Freeze off the top. So everything so far, just like mad consistency with this deck. Even though it's a mill deck, it's very consistent.
Let me ask you a question, Jordan. So
Yeah.
I feel like just going from where we were at with aggro, and like especially you can attest to like Storm and Vegex and like these crazy aggro decks, like U7 for the most part, everything costs you at least 1. So do you feel like this is like a balanced state of aggro?
I do think it's somewhat balanced. I think like the way the game's gone is that like they're getting rid of a lot of free plays and making everything cost 1. And I think these cards costing 1 is somewhat balanced. I can't sit here and say that I think it's like completely balanced because I do think this deck's pretty strong as it is. But it's more balanced than things we've been accustomed in the past, like Dark Brawly, for example. I think 1 mana 30Ks obviously, or 0 mana 30Ks back in the day were just like too strong. Like the fact these cost 1 and the deck's still powerful, I think means a lot. But it's close.
Gotcha.
Close. Then we got our super combo, just the Frieza sparking 5, because you always have it. You can't overwhelm in the deck, so you always have a drop area. And yeah, I mean it's just your super combo. You're gonna play 4. Then here I'll do these cards together because it's kind of like a package. So I run 4 Piccolo Skillless. I run 4 of the 1-drop Gohan that searches top 5, so it fixes your hand, and then also if you combo Skillless, you can draw a card once per turn. Well, not limit 1. So yeah, once per turn, however you want to look at it. But I ran Piccolo just because I ran Piccolo. You can run any vanilla you want. There's Vegeta, there's Goku, there's anything. I just decided to run Piccolo. But yeah, I think a 4/4 split on these is good, and yeah, it just helps you cycle, put a little pressure on your combos. Like you can swing with the 17, put a little 5k on there on turn 2 to maybe force that 2 damage, and you don't lose any hand advantage. And it fixes your U7 count as well. So if you mill kind of poorly in the early game, you can always cycle these because you're not losing anything. So you can always cycle them just to get your count up.
Yeah, you brought up a great point. This engine might be really good in Zenkai, just because like you get the free combo, you draw the card, and you charge Zenkai. That's really good.
Yeah, you could even go even a step further and run more vanillas going into Zenkai, because I think this deck definitely has some cards that you can work around with and make the room, and then opening Gohan and then having the free draw definitely will help fuel your Z energy. Might be a little controversial, but I only ran 3 of the Android 17. I needed to find a space for a card. I can't even remember which card, but like it just like came down to like I needed to cut one thing. And cutting one of this was fine. I know it's good in the yellow matchup to mill it and proc their trunks. But I was running some good tech for yellow trunks, so I didn't think I needed it as much. And yeah, so I just cut one. So I had 7 1-drops instead of 8. And yeah, so I don't know. It worked out fine. I think 3's fine. I wouldn't fault anybody for running 4 though. Here's another tech I played. I played 3 of the Black Supreme Kai. Really just for combo power, because it doesn't come in play when you mill it in this deck. But it is like a 10k layer in the game where people think like you have a lot of dead cards in hand, but in actuality you're sitting on 20 to 30k combo that they don't prepare for. And it definitely catches people off guard, and I've won games because of it. So 3's been the number I liked. I've tried 2, I've tried 4, and 3's just been the good middle ground for this card.
Gotcha. I was going to ask about, because I know we talked about bumping it to 4, but it sounds like 3 is just the right number for you.
Yeah, 4 was kind of hard to fit, especially being off color. There's a chance I could go back to 4, but I think 3 is the perfect number for now.
Gotcha.
I ran 2 Kaioken in the main to kill barrier threats, more for the yellow trunks matchup. I just ran 2. It also is a U7, so it doesn't really hurt your like U7 count or anything. It actually boosts it up a little bit. So I thought 2 was a fine number. Never hard casted it. It was really just for the U7 count plus killing barrier threats. All right. Ran 2 East Kai. I think it's the best to run East Kai in the red decks because there's always the chance that you could play it. But like one of my teammates, Rios, was running Champa, so I decided to run East Kai. And I know a lot of people I've seen run 1 or none of this card. This card wins you games you honestly have no business winning, to be honest. One of the games against a teammate that I played, Mike, I ended up drawing both of these against him, and it was really the only reason I could beat him. He's running Blue Baby, so just having 2 of these in the deck increased my win percentage heavily. And then we got 4 Baby Unison. I'm still on the Baby Unison. I've tested other Unisons in the deck. But this one's just so good at the way I like to play Dragon Ball, and that's just like out-resourcing my opponent. I know a lot of people will play this deck super aggressive, and not to say I don't, because I definitely will swing at my opponent as much as possible, but there's definitely a turning point where you want to play more passive and more control-y, and this Unison just fits that build perfectly. I'll tap out almost every turn with this card just because I know I get the 1k boost on defense, and I just build a big hand. Like, it's just how I like to play the deck, and it works perfect.
Oh yeah, dude, the card is way too cracked. Removal, Sensu Bean, draw 1. It's way too good.
Yeah, and like this is like a deck that you can like easily tap out with and still have good defense. So that's, it works perfect. Pretty much in tandem with the Unison, we go with Ford Videl. Not much to say, just the free counter play. Spirit Boost 1 doesn't really hurt the Unison too much because you also get the Tuck that can defend the Unison. So, and this is also going to kill 2 things generally. So, just a solid card. And here we got 4 Vegeta Resolve Renewed. I'm huge on this card. I think this card's so good. It makes your opponent play very strange sometimes. You force them to spend energy, and then you yourself have to spend energy, but you don't really mind too much. Like, I don't mind tapping out every turn with this deck. But yeah, it's just a really strong card. Stops all the floodgates. That's why I ran 4, because this is a mill deck, and sometimes that will get milled. Sometimes you mill 2, sometimes you mill 1. But like, I always wanted to see like at least 2 of this card, so that's why I put the 4th in, and it was great. It was great the whole weekend.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think most people run 3, but seeing that you ran 4 definitely might change some people's minds.
Yeah, just for consistency purposes, really. And then yeah, my negate lineup's probably a little different than some, but I like 3 testing the ops, and I'll just go with the other negate as well, and 3 after image. A 3-3 split has worked great for me. I like obviously this is for like the more like early game defense, and you can take your life from like high life totals down to the 5 marker, and then these I use later in the game to like stop 2 attacks or like definitely get that pressure off. And even sometimes, like I know I'll tap out most times, but sometimes I'll leave 2 up just for this, and that way I can just immediately block their first attack or negate their first attack, block their second, and then I have my baby use in play, can try and defend the rest. But yeah, no, I liked both these negates and they worked out perfect. And the last 2 cards were one-ofs. The one King Piccolo, because, you know, in unison, it's basically our overrealm. It's the only thing we got. 20k, double strike, gets around blocker, very strong. And then obviously the Vegeta SCR. Not a god rare, unfortunately, but
So let's talk about the card you were not playing, which is Ultra Mastery Goku, which makes your deck mathematically terrible. No, but so talk about why you didn't play Ultra Mastery, because I'm sure a lot of people will be surprised about that.
Yeah, so it's just the way I play the deck personally is like I don't really want to be tapping 4 energy for anything. As you can see, like obviously like I'm not going to go through every single card again, but the way this deck plays is so like 1 energy efficiency for the most part. There's some things that cost 2, but most things cost 1. And if I'm playing like 3 to 4 cards a turn that are 1 energy that are giving me a lot of value, I think playing 1 Ultra Mastery for 4 energy does not give me anywhere near the same amount of value. And Ultra Mastery is kind of stopped in a lot of decks. There's a lot of decks that have answers to it, and it's also a 1+10k. So like everything about the card, I'm just not a huge fan of. Looking at the opponent's hand and ripping a card, very strong, but there's so many things in the format that just, you know, get around it. I mean, I could go on and on, but it being a 10k is also pretty detrimental to the deck because you're mostly tapped out, so you don't really have energy to combo with it. And like I know the Kaiser right here, like I just preferred to have like free combo power. Like I just rather have that at the end of the game than have an Ultra Mastery.
Gotcha. No, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people have been cutting it down to like 2 or 1, and seeing 0 makes sense to me. Yeah, and I don't think I'd blame anyone for playing like 2 copies, but still it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and then, so that was the main deck. It's 60 cards exactly. I didn't count the U7 count, but it's pretty generous.
Probably around 35.
I never have any issues milling. Like I said, the vanillas fix it a lot, so never had an issue with the mills at all. So we'll go into the sideboard. So here I ran 4 Dark Flower, Black Mass Sand. So multiple purposes for this card. It's mainly for the Trunks Vegeta matchup, because if you can establish it early, it makes their 1-drops very awkward to play, and they also can't play from the drop area. So I found it better than the red shoe, because this is better throughout the game than just turn 1, because that's pretty much the only time shoe is very good.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I went with this, and this is also Self-Awakener, so later in the game, if you know it stays around, I can always just swing to get some cards in my hand, a free 15k attacker that gets life to my hand, and I did that a few times as well. Definitely good against some rogue matchups as well, but mainly for Trunks Vegeta. Decent against Gamma as well. So we got 3 Broly Crown. For the blue matchup mainly, I don't think I really sided in versus yellow, even though it's okay versus yellow. It just depends on what you're playing against. Mainly just for blue. I kind of like this. I can think of this as like the 5th, 6th, and 7th Vegeta Resolve Renewed, because yeah, it just does similar things, but they don't have to invest energy, so like Vegeta's just a little better.
Yeah, but even in that case, like getting the hand knowledge is insane, and possibly ripping a super combo is insane, so got its benefits.
Exactly. Very true, very true. Yeah, ripping a super combo is insane. That's why I think against blue it's just so good. Like you just get so much value out of it against the blue decks. Played 2 of the Vegeta counter, King Vegeta. It actually came up surprisingly in 2 of my games, so definitely worth siding. Good against green mainly, but it's also good against blue. You know, you stop pesky D magics, especially when blue decks try and tap out and stuff on you. But no, it was really solid. Considering bumping it up to 3, that's how good it was.
I think I even saw you in one game bring it against yellow for release removal, or maybe there's another player. Was that right?
Yeah, I brought it in almost every matchup, as crazy as it sounds. Like, I brought in a lot. It didn't come up in the yellow matchups as much as I would like, but it definitely came up in the blue and green matchups for sure.
Gotcha.
And I also sided against black too, because I know I played Hatchiyak one round, and I know they play Power Burst frequently, but also came up versus them as well. So very good sideboard card. 2 Cease to Exist for the Trunks Vegeta matchup. So I have the 2 Kaioken's in the main. I'll bring these in as well. So I have 4 barrier removals. And like, especially going first, like the pacing of the game, like you can just kind of like blow them out with these like barrier removal cards. They think they're gonna get a free tap, and you kill their guy. They don't get a block. They don't get a tap, and then you just kind of go in. So yeah, pretty strong card. 2 Frieza's Death Ball. I sided in a couple times. I don't know, like the card was okay. I definitely could see it being cut. Never really came up, but it's really just combo power. I thought against certain decks I'd need like the extra boost in combo power, but realistically the Kais were enough, I think. So this could definitely be another card if you have something else you want to side. And the last card is 2 Violent Rays. I brought these in a lot. These are in the main for the most part for the longest time. But best one pre-side, it doesn't really matter too much. If I'd bring these in, I'd cut a Test in the Up and an After Image, so I'd play like a 2-2-2 split most of the time. So it doesn't affect like my combo power or my like U7 count or anything like that. But obviously, Violent Rays, very strong card.
I got one question for you. Did you ever try out King Vegeta Imposing Presence?
So I have not tried King Vegeta's Imposing Presence out in this deck. I think King Vegeta's Imposing Presence is a fine card, but I do find that like when you're at that 3 or less life threshold with other decks I've played with it, a lot of times it's not enough to keep you alive if you play it for free. So it's more or less like a 1 mana bean earlier on in the game. And earlier on in the game, I feel like U7 does a very good job of defending its life. Like, I stay at a high life total most of the time. So I think the turns where I would want it, I don't really need it, I guess you could say.
Gotcha. Well,
but I think it's a strong card, but yeah.
Gotcha. Well, Jordan, thanks for going through the profile with us. Any shout-outs you want to throw out there?
Yeah, shout out to the team. I mean, GenCon weekend was a blast. Played so much Dragon Ball. Actually didn't play too much tonight at locals because I just wanted to unwind a little bit. But no, just shout out to the team. Shout out to you, Joey, for doing all you do. And, shout out to our sponsors, Mystic TCG and DBS Deck Planet. Amazing sponsors. And, yeah, just can't wait for the next event and next deck profile.
Awesome, dude. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Later.